Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside, the podcast that is dedicated to revolutionising the way dental professionals succeed beyond the dental chair. Join us for a unique blend of insightful interviews with industry experts and valuable tidbits of information to help you thrive in your dental specialist practice. In each 20-minute episode, we'll delve into a variety of topics, including HR, marketing, innovative techniques and systems, and AI, to help you transform your practice and unlock its full potential. Whether you're a dentist, specialist, or oral health therapist looking to enhance your practice, this podcast is your go-to resource for professional, personal, and profitable success. Get ready to go beyond the dental chair and discover what lies ahead in your practice journey with Dental Success Beyond Chairside. Welcome to Dental Success Beyond Chairside. When discussing sustainable success in a dental practice, legal foundations are often overlooked, but they're essential. How solid are the legal foundations in your practice? Today, I'm joined by David McMullen from Pritchard Lawyers. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Michelle.
Really appreciate you coming on. David is a highly experienced commercial lawyer who works closely with clients in health, aged care, and not-for-profit sectors. His advice is known for being practical, commercially focused, and grounded in real-world experience. He's served as a general counsel and company secretary, sits on not-for-profit boards, and is also a current local government councillor and mayor. His work has been recognised by Doyle's Guide and the best lawyers in Australia. David, can you share a bit about your background, and then let's talk about the legal and governance areas practice owners need to get right to set themselves up for long-term success.
Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate the fact that you haven't overlooked the lawyers, because I think we are an essential part of business success and sustainability. As you've mentioned, I practice at Pritchard Lawyers, and that's a firm with a history of about 15 or 16 years now, and it was probably originally best known as being the firm doctors and dentists and health professionals would go to for regulatory matters and negligence matters, complaints and investigations, all that type of thing when things were not going so well in practice. But I've been at the firm now for 7 years, and I lead the commercial practice at Pritchard. My work is quite different to my other colleagues at the firm, but I very much practice in the health space, and a lot of that revolves around dentists, in no small part through our strong partnership with ADA WA. The work that I do, I would say, is that I can be pretty much all things to dentists who are in business, except for employment law and tax, I would say. Those are some pretty specialised areas which I'll generally send people elsewhere for. But over the years, I've seen a lot of legal issues that dentists encounter in the various stages of their business journey. When they go into business for the first time, when it's time to buy or sell a practice, and also, I suppose, the ongoing legal housekeeping that any business owner in the dental profession should be bearing in mind. Today, we'll talk about 3 areas: going into business for the first time, buying and selling a practice, and ongoing legal housekeeping. And look, I think the takeaway I want to give to your viewers or listeners will be that as dentists, they bring the strong clinical skills to the table. They've spent years becoming professionals in their fields. But dentistry is a very different discipline to running a business and navigating the legal landscape that comes with dentistry and business in the dental sector. I think I'll be trying to get across that it's incredibly important to have the right advisors by your side, and that involves not only lawyers but also accountants and other business professionals, which I think probably ties in nicely with this series that you're doing at the moment on your podcast.
It definitely does. I think you've hit the nail on the head, David. I'd really love you to cover those 3 areas. So we can go for the first one, first-time buyers. What do they need to know?
Well, I think as a dental business owner, before you even go looking for the practice to buy or take over, or whether you're setting one up, whatever the case may be, I think you need to have a look at your own personal circumstances and what business structure is going to work for you and your family and the business partners who you may be planning on going into business with. I think there's a lot of initial work that should happen before you start talking to a lawyer like myself. You might be talking to an accountant or a financial planner about how best to structure your business. Once you've got that far, I think it's incredibly important early on to think about who you're going into business with, if in fact you do have a business partner, and to have a real think about how the other business relationship's going to look. My strong advice is to never go into business with another party, even if they're a colleague or a friend, if you don't have a formal shareholders agreement or a partnership agreement in place, as well as a suitable company constitution if you're going to be set up as a company. The reality is that these types of agreements, I think, are like a business prenup. No one anticipates having disputes or things going badly when they go into business with someone, particularly if they've known someone as a clinician for a long period of time. But the reality is unexpected things can happen in business, and sometimes that's the result of internal factors, sometimes it's the result of external factors. That's why it's so critically important to know up front what the rules of engagement are.
It's so funny when you were talking earlier about initially when you first started, people coming in about things that have happened, and I'm sure partnerships have been a big one. We have Brad, well, not sure if Brad's before you or after you, but we've already recorded the episode, and he's just like, when I go in, it's just like they want to sell. It's like, what's your partnership agreement say? They go, oh, well, we never really thought about that. It's just like, oh my gosh, just exactly what you said. It's just like the prenup. But I think, as you said, they're colleagues and they're friends and they can't see that anything's going wrong. But that foundation is so important. Thank you.
And I suppose it's like they say that the path to hell is laid with good intentions. And I think a lot of health practitioners, doctors and dentists see their primary role as being a practitioner who services their patients, and they've taken an oath to that effect, and often that is what drives them. But the business side of things can really creep up on you and can catch you out if you don't have all your house in order. So that's where I come in, and I spoke really early on, think about not only who you're going into business with initially, but whether you want to keep the door open to further business partners coming in later on, and what your constitution and shareholders agreement, etc., may need to look like as a result of that. The other thing I would recommend going into business for the first time is that be aware that from this point onwards, you're going to be wearing multiple hats. You're going to continue to be a dentist. You'll have all your professional obligations and ethical obligations that you've always had, but you're more than likely now also going to be an employer of people. You're going to be a business owner. If you're set up as a company, you'll be probably a director and a shareholder of that new company. You may be acting as a trustee if there's a trust involved. You're set up as a partnership with your business partners, then you're going to be partners at law. All these new hats that you're going to wear involve new responsibilities, both legal and other, and they will have to sit alongside your ongoing obligations as a dentist. So it's critically important to understand the structure that you're going into, and what additional duties you may be taking on as a result. If you're structured as a company, for example, and you've appointed yourself as a director of your new proprietary limited company, then you're going to have duties under the Corporations Act. The core duties are to act in good faith and in the best interests of the company, to act for a proper purpose, to avoid conflicts of interest, to exercise care, skill and diligence, not to avoid improperly using your position, and to avoid improperly using information that you get through your role as a director. So a whole new suite of regulatory obligations and legal duties that are sometimes worlds removed from what you might have been used to as a dentist prior to ever going into business. But it's all stuff that can be learned and can be the subject of good advice, even when things don't appear to be going wrongly. And I suppose that's the message that I'll keep reiterating, to get those advisors around you when you're starting out in business, and to have them on board when you're just not sure about something new.
Yeah, everybody that we've got on this particular series is speaking from the same song sheet. It's so important to get those foundations and get those professionals around you to set up those foundations for success, do that due diligence and really understand what you're getting into. I think a lot of people think, oh, we don't need them, like, oh, that's going to cost money, but they're investing $750,000 to $1 million, over $2 million, just huge sums of money. And this is such a small percentage to actually invest for your future success. That's what it's all about. And having those people surrounding you to help you set you up for exactly what you want for now, for business, for personal, for the future. It's just so good. I've seen partnerships really go badly. They said, oh, well, we didn't want to spend that, I don't know, 15,000, 20,000, whatever it was. We didn't want to spend that. That was a lot. Just ended up costing so much more money. That's what the financial planners and accountants have said. Like, if you change the structure down the track because you haven't set it up correctly, it can cost a lot of money.
Exactly. Look, I'm glad we're all singing from the same song sheet, and I suppose so we should. We've all seen these types of situations in our own areas of practice, and the some of the things we see, I think we're all seeing time and time again.
Absolutely. The second thing we were going to talk about, David, was buying and selling. So we've sort of talked about buying. How about selling?
Well, look, I think this probably covers a lot of different scenarios now, but I think a sale can come about in a number of different ways. You may be a practitioner who's at the end of their career and they're looking to hand down the business to the next generation, and often they're practitioners who've come through the ranks and who've started as junior dentists and have really got to know the owner, and those are the people who the owner wants to sell the business onto. Quite often, you may find yourself in a sales situation having gone through a broker. You mentioned Brad before. Presumably that's Brad Potter, who's well known in dental circles. A lot of sales, I think, would probably end up going through brokers, simply because as a buyer, you don't know exactly who's out there and who's got something for sale. As a seller, you want the best sale possible to realise all the hard work that you've put in over your career, or however many years you may be doing it. I think anecdotally, a lot of sales probably are going through brokers, but from time to time, I will also see parties who've met through people that they know, or just through word of mouth, and they've reached an in-principle agreement, or at least they're interested enough in talking about a sale that they'll come to someone like me without having gone through a broker at all. I think if you're doing the selling, you'll probably want to ensure that your legal house is in order. So that means formalising any contracts which up until now have been word of mouth or unwritten, or have evolved informally over the years. Make sure all your employee and payments and entitlements are up to date. If there's a lease, for example, on the premises that you're working out of that is up for renewal, or perhaps is under a holding over period, get it all brought up to date and formalised, so that you've got something to present to the buyers, and it makes for a much nicer, cleaner sale. As a seller of a business, I suppose you should also have a good think about what exactly you're selling. Are you going to sell the shares in the company that you've set up, or are you selling the business and the assets that company owns? There's a lot of ways a sale can proceed, and a lot of it really depends on how you've structured your business affairs and what it is that the buyers want to be taking on.
Excellent. And I think another thing is that you need to look at your planning to make sure that what's actually inside the premises is actually planning approved as well. I was speaking to an owner yesterday, and he's like, oh, we sort of got it through planning as this, but then we put a dental chair in.
Absolutely. Look, I think you should preempt the things that the buyers are going to want to be satisfied of, because if they're properly advised and they're astute, these things are going to come out sooner or later. That's why I say be prepared, be organised, and get all your contracts in place. If heaven forbid you are operating without planning approval or something like that, you should probably sort that out rather than have it hold up the sale later on.
Right, exactly. And I think finally, David, we were talking about just legal and ongoing housekeeping. Is that right? The third thing?
Yeah, correct. And this is where having an ongoing relationship with a lawyer who understands your business and the sector more generally can really add value. For one reason or another, I think as lawyers we've ended up towards the bottom of the food chain in terms of where people are willing or are keen to spend their money. Everyone in business will have an accountant. You don't generally try to dabble in those types of things if you don't know what you're doing. But for one reason or another, lawyers are always kind of the advisors of last resort, I feel. I think it's changing, and And our firm, as we were chatting about before, has sponsored ADA WA for a long time. And for any of your viewers or listeners who are ADA WA members, we offer a member benefit scheme where we will give half an hour's free assistance to ADA WA members. It's those types of things which we offer to dentists and other health professionals, which really allow the relationship to stay on foot and to be called upon as and when needed. You just never really know when a potential legal issue is not an issue at all. But if you've got that ability to pick up the phone and speak to a lawyer without the clock running, that can often help you as the dentist, but also us as the advisor, really cut through the noise and say, yeah, this is something we should spend a bit more time on, or no, you're on the right track. There's no legal issues here, or if they are, there's a quick answer, and here it is. I suppose message one in the ongoing legal housekeeping space is to find a good lawyer and stay in touch with them, follow their legal updates and follow their articles if they're publishing them in your professional journal, whether it's the ADA one or AMA or something similar. Bear in mind your privacy obligations. I've spoken about contracts, I've spoken about corporations, but one thing that I think is an ongoing minefield which any health business should really be on top of is the evolving privacy laws. I suppose the expectations that your patient base will have in terms of how personal information's handled and the types of precautions that your business is taking in order to comply with its privacy obligations and to avoid data breaches, because we've seen some pretty high profile data breaches in recent years, which can really destroy a business's reputation. And if you think of what's happened at a larger scale, but apply that to your smaller dental practice business, there's still a lot of harm that can come from not managing your privacy obligations. That's the type of thing that an advisor like me will be across and will know how to advise upon. That's why I say find a lawyer who understands your business and understands your sector, because there'll be plenty of lawyers who do leases, plenty of lawyers who do contracts of various kinds. There's privacy experts, but what's usually a small business in the dental field, you don't want to necessarily have a panel of lawyers who you go to for all your various legal disputes. You often want a one-stop shop who knows your business and the challenges you face. That's why I mentioned something like privacy.
No, I think that's great, David. What you've covered today is fantastic in sharing with our listeners on what to actually know, and also the importance of having those specialists and specialists in the field of dentistry as well, because you're very familiar and that expertise in such a niche area is so important. So thank you so much for joining us today, David. For more information about David and Panetta McGrath Lawyers, please see our show notes. Thank you so much again for joining us today. Really appreciate your expertise and sharing what you know with our listeners. Thanks, David.
Thanks for having me, Michelle. Cheers.
In our next episode, we'll move forward from legal structures to financial clarity. I'll be joined by Arthur Adnell, a chartered accountant and certified exit planning advisor who specialises in helping dentists make sense of their numbers, not just at tax time, but throughout the business life cycle. We'll explore how to use your financial data strategically to make confident decisions and plan for long-term success. Thanks for listening to Dental Success Beyond Chairside. See you next time.